After buying and selling over 600 lots, I've seen it all. Dream homes that never get built and perfect properties that turn into money pits. So in this video, I'll reveal the 10 most costly mistakes land buyers make and how to avoid them before they drain your savings, derail your plans, and leave you stuck with land you can't use or sell. Now the first mistake has the power to undo everything you thought you were buying. Say you found a stunning wooded property, the perfect backdrop for your dream home. But when you return a week after closing, it looks nothing like you remembered. The trees are gone, just stumps and tire tracks where your forest used to be. So what happened? Well, you probably didn't realize the timber rights weren't automatically yours. Turns out the seller harvested the trees right before closing, legally. Why? Because the contract didn't specifically include timber rights or prevent the seller from cutting before the transfer. And in many states, unless it's clearly stated, timber can be treated as a separate asset. Now your dream lot looks like a lumberjack's after party. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, ask the seller, do I get full rights to the timber and will the trees remain on the land as is until closing? Then put it in writing. Have your agent or attorney include a clause that clearly states the trees, timber, and all the surface rights transfer with the property. If possible, drive the land again just before closing. Now the second mistake might look harmless until you realize what's missing could kill your entire plan. You find the perfect Colorado property, wide open space and mountain views. You picture drilling your own well, tapping into clean mountain water and living completely self-sufficient. But when you apply for a county well permit, the clerk scrolls through your file, then gives a little laugh and says, "You must be new here." Then the stamp hits the paper. Denied. So what happened? In states like Colorado, water rights are completely separate from land ownership. Just because you own the property doesn't mean you can drill a well or use the water under it. They follow a first-in-time, first-in-right system, meaning the people who claim those water rights first have priority. If all the water in your area is already allocated, the county can deny your well permit outright, which means your self-sufficient dream will now have to be sponsored by Costco bottled water. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, check the property's water rights status before closing. Call the county's water resources office and ask, does this parcel already have a well permit? If not, is a new permit possible for this location? Where would you be in line and will there actually be water when it's your turn? If you're unsure how to interpret the answers, hire a local water attorney or well driller to review the situation. Now, mistake number 3 is the kind that turns a flat lawn into a financial sinkhole. You finally finish building your home. The driveway is still gravel, so while you're waiting for the asphalt crew, you park your moving van on that nice flat patch of grass out back. But a few weeks later, you notice soggy spots forming in the yard and a smell you'd rather not describe. So you call for help, hoping it's a quick fix, and that's when he gives you the estimate. $15,000. So what happened? That nice flat patch of grass was your septic drain field, and it's not built to handle the weight of vehicle. Underneath are pipes that spread wastewater into the ground, and parking a moving van on top crushed them and packed the soil so it couldn't drain. The only fix? Dig it up, replace the damaged components, and restore the drain field. At least on the bright side, you now own the most expensive parking spot outside of Manhattan. So how do you avoid it? Before you move in, find out exactly where your septic drain field is located and mark it clearly. If you're not sure, your county health department or a licensed septic installer can map it for you. Then make it a rule. No vehicles, no heavy machinery, no storage sheds, no above ground pools. Anything heavy stays off. Now mistake number 4 is invisible, silent, and powerful enough to erase your home site. You find a great lot with plenty of space for a home. You've already pictured exactly where your dream home will sit. But when the surveyor walks the property, he stops, points over the fence and says, "Whose well is that?" You shrug, must be the neighbor's. Then he pulls out a tape measure, and the silence that follows feels like a punch to the gut. So what happened? Turns out your neighbor's well isn't just their problem, it's yours too. In most counties, there's a required setback between any well and a potential building site, sometimes 50 feet, sometimes 100. And that setback doesn't care whose land the well is on. If that buffer zone from the neighbor's well crosses onto your land, it can wipe out your only legal spot to build, turning your dream home site into a meditation garden because you'll need to stay calm. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, have a surveyor or county inspector confirm the location of every well, yours and your neighbor's. Measure the required setback distance for your county and make sure it won't overlap your planned building site. If there's any doubt, get it in writing from the county that your chosen spot is buildable. Next is mistake number 5, which is easy to miss but hard to forget once it catches you. You find the perfect property, beautiful views, gentle slope, and the listing proudly says, not in a 100-year flood zone. You breathe easy, no expensive flood insurance, no constant worry. So you buy it and start building. But then the first heavy storm rolls in. Water doesn't creep toward your foundation. It rushes in from the nearby creek, spreading across your land until your living room floor is ankle deep in muddy water. So what happened? That not in a 100-year flood zone line only tells part of the story. FEMA maps define 100-year and 500-year flood zones, but they don't account for every risk, like localized flooding from heavy rain, seasonal runoff, or nearby creeks and drainage ditches that can overflow. And flood maps can be outdated, meaning water can still find you even if you are in the clear on paper. But the good news about ankle deep water is, well, actually, there isn't one. So how do you avoid it? Don't stop at the listing or FEMA maps. Check both the 100-year and 500-year floodplain boundaries, but also ask the county if there are any localized flood hazard studies. Walk the property after a heavy rain if possible, or look for signs of past flooding like water lines on trees or debris caught in fences. Talk to neighbors. They'll know if the dry creek overflows every spring. If you're still unsure, hire a surveyor or engineer to confirm the elevation and drainage before you build. Now, mistake number 6 can't be seen from the road, but it can cost you big. You close on your new land, confident you have covered every base. The title insurance is in place, the deed is recorded, time to start planning your build. Then a month later, a crew shows up in hard hats, waving papers and pointing at your property. By the end of the week, there's a fresh trench and a bright yellow gas line running through the middle of your future garden. So what happened? Title insurance protects you from certain problems, but not from everything. The policy comes with exceptions, which are essentially issues it won't cover. Buried in those exceptions can be survey maps, utility easements, and rights of way that give others the legal right to access, dig, or build on part of your property. Suddenly, your quiet backyard becomes the scenic route for utility trucks. So how do you avoid it? When you get your title commitment, don't just file it away. Flip straight to the Schedule B exception section. These are the things your policy won't protect you from. Ask the title company for the book and page references for each item. Then pull the actual records from the county. Look for utility easements and rights of way that could limit what you can do on your land. If something looks suspicious or unclear, ask the title officer or a real estate attorney to explain it before you close. Now, the 7th mistake can sink your dream before you have even poured the foundation. You find a property priced way below market. The seller says it failed a perk test, but you have heard you can just put in an engineered septic system and still build. You close the deal, certain you have outsmarted everyone. But during permitting, the county inspector glances at your file, then gives you a look that makes your stomach drop. So what happened? Even engineered septic systems like mound systems or aerobic drip systems aren't magic fixes for bad soil. They still need at least 12 inches or more of good dry soil above rock or wet ground. That's when you find out your bargain property can't support any approved septic system, which is great if your dream home was actually a hammock. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, hire a licensed soil scientist or engineer to test whether there's enough usable dry soil for the specific system you're considering. Requirements can vary. Some counties need 12 inches, other 18 or more. So confirm with your local health department exactly what's needed for approval. Now, mistake number 8 is one small detail that can leave you stranded and out of options. You find the perfect off-grid property, complete peace and privacy. The seller mentions there is no cell service, but that's fine. You'll just get satellite internet. So you sign the papers, move in, and set up your shiny new dish, ready to log into your first remote meeting from paradise. But the connection never comes, just an empty signal bar staring back at you while your deadlines close in and your job hangs in the balance. So what happened? Satellite internet can reach many rural areas, but it's not magic. Trees, mountains, and even your property's location relative to satellites can block the signal completely. And while coverage maps look impressive, they don't guarantee a usable connection at your exact spot. So your work from home setup is now just home. So how do you avoid it? Before buying, test the actual internet options at the property, not just what the coverage maps claim. Visit the land with a portable hotspot or arrange for a satellite internet trial before closing. Talk to neighbors about their experience. Ask the provider to check your exact GPS coordinates for line of sight issues and confirm speeds meet your needs. Now, mistake number 9 is the difference between weekend escape and weekend stuck. You find the perfect mountain property, tall pines, fresh air, total peace. The gravel road in is quiet and smooth, winding past wildflowers and streams. You drive it windows down, thinking this is the life. But a few months later, you head up for a weekend getaway and your perfect drive comes to a grinding stop. So what happened? That year-round access you thought you had disappears when winter turns that quiet gravel road into a frozen barricade. In many mountain areas, roads aren't plowed unless they're county maintained, and some private or forest roads aren't maintained at all. Deep snow, ice, and drifts can block access for weeks or even months. At least on the plus side, no one's stealing your Amazon packages. So how do you avoid it? Before buying, ask the county or local road department who maintains the road and if it's plowed in winter. If it's a private or forest road, find out if there's homeowners association or road maintenance agreement that covers snow removal and how often it's done. Visit the property in the cold season or talk to year-round neighbors to see what access is really like. Now, some problems are temporary, but mistake number 10 is permanent. You find a gorgeous piece of land, rolling meadow, quiet trees, and the perfect spot for your dream home. You walk the property and notice a small patch of weathered stones in the far corner. Probably just rustic landscaping, no big deal. But a few weeks later, an official looking envelope arrives from the county. You open it expecting your building permit, and instead, you find a single sentence that instantly erases your dream house from your plans. So what happened? Those decorative stones weren't landscaping at all. They were headstones. Your land has a historical cemetery on it. And in most states, that means strict laws about preservation. You can't move the graves, disturb the ground, or build over the area. And depending on the boundaries, that small patch can end up taking a big bite out of your buildable space. At least on the plus side, your trick-or-treat traffic will be legendary. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, walk every inch of the property, and not just for the views. Look for weathered stones, fenced off patches, or old markers, no matter how small. Ask the county or state historic preservation office if the site is registered, and check old survey maps for cemetery or burial ground notations. If you find one, get clarity on the exact boundaries and rules before you commit. But here's the thing, some of the worst land mistakes start with details most buyers never think to check. So watch this video next before you end up learning these lessons the hard way.